And it is my very great pleasure now to introduce HD, who's going to talk about recruiting in a time of COVID. So, Heather, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Peter. So excited to be here today. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if they'll allow me to switch over to my presentation. All right, here we go. So we get to talk about one of my favorite topics in the world, talent acquisition or recruiting, and one of my least favorite topics at this point, COVID. But this is the world that we're living in today. So we're going to chat about what changed, what's here to stay, and what's next. So how would you describe the last 14 months? We had COVID, we had 2 impeachments, we had the impact of Black Lives Matter movement and racial injustice. We had locusts, we had the most active hurricane season to date, the most heated debate and presidential election of our time, and the insurrection of the Capitol. But wait, don't forget about the murder hornets. Luckily, that wasn't a huge impact in Florida, but it was still something that happened in 2020 and the last 14 months. And, if somebody's asking, so how's 2020? Oh, there was a virus outbreak and Kobe Bryant died and Australia was on fire, but the memes are great. So, there is some ray of sunshine and silver lining underneath our masks that we've all been wearing and hopefully won't have to wear too much longer. As Peter mentioned, this program has been pre-approved for 3.75 credits from both SHRM and HRCI. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate your help as our certification director for HR Florida. So to make sure that we cover everything that we said we were going to cover today, our objectives that we advertised was to review the current state of talent acquisition affairs, discuss what new innovations and services were adopted during this time, what has not changed, what changes are yet to come, do we have that buy-in from senior leadership, and how do we strategically prepare our organization for success moving forward? If you do a quick Google search for COVID and talent acquisition, you'll get about 52 million results in 0.6 seconds. Or if you change it to COVID and recruiting, 227 million results in 0.59 seconds. So there's a bit of information on this topic, and we're going to try to squeeze it in about 40 minutes and then cover some Q&A at the end. So first off, what changed? It would be very easy to say that everything is different now. And in some ways, yes, everything has changed. But in a lot of ways, it's all still stayed the same, at least when we're talking about recruiting and talent acquisition. So let's lay a baseline first. Pre-COVID, I'm sure a lot of you were starting to do things with targeted ads and AI and chatbots and SMS text and video interviews, whether those were recorded where you preset the questions or live via Skype or Zoom or Teams or any of the other services out there. So I want to first find out, what have you been using? Were you doing targeted ads, AI chatbots, SMS text, or video interviews? So either in the poll or in the Q&A or in the chat, take a couple seconds. Let me know what you were doing pre-COVID.
HD, let's have everybody put their responses in the chat so we have them all in one place.
That way we can see them. Perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's use that chat. Pull it up so I can see your answers too. All right, we have some SMS text going on with Dawn, or with Kathy. Dawn was doing video interviews. Joanne was doing quite a bit. Good job covering it all. And video interviews from Troy. All right, excellent. So we were doing quite a bit with technology already. If you haven't experienced geofencing yet, I highly recommend it. This is one of my favorite things that I was doing in a previous life. And geofencing is where you have the opportunity to take a section of the map and draw a fence around that area. For example, let's say you were hiring a bunch of HR professionals and you drew this fence around the Gaylord Palms because you knew the 2021 HR Florida Conference was going to be happening at the Gaylord Palms from August 29th through early September. By putting that geofence around that area, you can do targeted ads to HR professionals. So not only do they get those ads while they're there on site, it also picks up on their IP address and the devices that are also set to their home, so that those ads are popping up on their computer, their home computer, their kids' computer, and everyone knows that you're hiring for HR people. So geofencing is a really fun one if you haven't tried it yet. What else changed during this time? Well, according to the BLS report in April, 14.7%, representing 33 million US workers, were unemployed. That's an estimated 10% of our entire population. And people started getting creative. They started doing drive-through job fairs. We were still physically distancing at the time, but we needed to hire people because not everybody was able to work remote. So people were doing drive-through job fairs where you could actually get in your car and go from tent to tent or business to business and apply, learn more about the positions, and possibly get a job. Taco Bell was doing hiring parties. I mean, how fun does that sound? One day, 5,000 job openings was their desire. Again, this happened in the parking lot of their restaurant, so they had the opportunity to meet with existing employees, talk about the culture, what benefits were there, and hopefully hire some great talent. And show me the money. There was a lot going on with money, and I'm sure there is more yet to come. So McDonald's started paying people $50 for an interview, and they're not the only ones. I've seen other people doing this. Checkers, now hiring work today, paid tomorrow for both crew and managers. And Dunkin' Donuts, not only are they talking about their paid time off and health benefits and flexible schedule and $100 anniversary bonus, they're giving away a $50 weekly attendance bonus and a $100 sign-on bonus. It's getting a little crazy, right? More bonuses, retention bonuses. This is something that was happening before with some organizations, but not across the board. And we are seeing more and more of this. And it's not only the annual anniversary bonus, it might be 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, or something else in between. Referral bonuses. A lot of companies have the employee referral program, but not many were doing outside referral bonuses. And we're starting to see more of that. So whether you're a customer or a friend of a friend, if you happen to meet somebody that you think is a good fit for the right position at that organization, they're going to pay you for that referral, even though you don't work there. But it's the cost of doing business. And if they get great talent, it could be a good investment. So some of our hurdles. Unemployment benefits keep getting extended, which means a lot of people aren't looking for jobs, or they're not looking with that same passion or gusto that they might have been doing before. I don't know about you, but there's an awful lot of no call, no shows of the interview, the first day, or during the probationary period, or a little bit of ghosting that's still happening for us. Personally, in my organization, we saw a lot of early retirements. So folks that weren't planning to retire for maybe 1 to 5 years said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm ready to enjoy life. I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and retire now. The candidate flows also decreased. Now, don't get me wrong. We still have a lot of candidates. We're keeping plenty busy and doing more hiring than ever before. But the overall number of candidates that are applying has certainly gone down. Our process for interviews and hiring and onboarding has certainly changed in my organization, and I'm sure it has for you too. A lot of career shifts have been happening. People are really rethinking, do I want to be in this career path? Is it a job change? Is it an industry change? Is it an organizational change? And then the shift from office to work from home. A lot of people never had the opportunity to work from home before and were given the opportunity to do it full-time or at least in a hybrid fashion during COVID and said, you know what, there's some great benefits here. I really like this. Maybe I don't want to go back to the office, or maybe I don't want to go back full-time. And will your organization be able to accommodate that? Some other challenges that are still going on in our world, DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're starting to see this really take the forefront with a lot of organizations and showcasing what they're doing and their plans for the future, but it's still something that we have to consider even in our COVID environment. And we've got a lot of ongoing social issues with voting and LGBTQ rights and mass shootings, unfortunately. And as HR and TA professionals, we still have to help mitigate that subjective bias during the hiring process and the developmental opportunities. So when we're talking about promotions within our organization, allowing them to upskill or reskill themselves. So in the chat, What other challenges do we need to overcome? What's keeping you up at night? Don't be shy, type away. There we go. Unemployment fraud. Yes, definitely have seen an increase in that. Engaging new employees as we hire them. Absolutely. The no-shows and the ghosting, some problems. Lack of quality candidates. Yeah, we're still seeing that skill shortage too. So we're still getting a lot of candidates, but then actually getting the ones with the right skill set. 1 in 5 will show up. Oh goodness, that's a bad ratio. Cost per hire, overqualified people looking for work. Yes, on the other end of that spectrum. Continued focus on hiring Black employees for higher level positions. Absolutely. Onboarding remote workers, store managers are really struggling. Yeah. As more people are leaving or it's harder to find people, your existing employees are strapped for time because they're taking on that workload. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of them, which we'll discuss in a minute. So some silver linings. It's not all doom and gloom. You know, if you know me at all, I'm all about the positive side and what are the bright sides and what can we look at moving forward. So a lot of people saw increased productivity. I love being in the office. I love socializing with my colleagues and having that interaction, but I have somebody in my door on a regular basis. Got a minute? Got a minute? And those got a minutes add up. So when I'm able to actually work from home, I can get way more done this way because I have a lot less distractions here. And I know that's not true for everybody, but for my personal instance, and for a lot of people, increased productivity has happened. Even if it's just not having that daily commute, whether it's a short commute or a long commute, you still have that extra time and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm ready to go for work. I normally been leaving to hit the road at this time. I'll go ahead and log on a little bit earlier to get something done. If you had the right managers in place, hopefully those employees saw that support from their managers. And whether that's just being able to have a friendly conversation and show that they truly care about them, or maybe going the extra mile with, you know, a little gift card or a thank you note, so that they know that they really do care about them as a person. Feeling safe. You know, when we were in the very early stages of the pandemic and really didn't know what was going on or what was going to happen next, the fact that some organizations were able to send employees home to protect them, to protect their families, and again, care about that human element in HR really set you apart as a manager. And that's something that we want to continue with our existing employees and to make sure that we're sharing that information with new employees coming in our recruitment. We also have a smaller carbon footprint and some lower real estate needs. So thinking long-term from the planet as a whole, as well as, you know, the cost for buildings and air conditioning and everything else, it might make sense to continue that work from home opportunity now that we've had the opportunity to do this in COVID. And I don't know about you, but QR codes are everywhere now. You know, they really we're at the height of, oh my gosh, it's a QR code. I can get all this information. They've phased out for a long time. And it's like, all right, we no longer have the QR app. Nobody's using these anymore. And then what a resurgence. The QR codes are back and better than ever. So not only are we seeing this on, you know, menus as we go out to eat or we try to order food online, we saw it on the Dunkin' Donuts advertisement for their recruiting efforts. And I was watching TV the other day and St. Jude had their TV commercial playing and they had the QR code on the screen the entire time so that you could use your phone, scan that, and make a donation right away. So personally, the QR code, it's back, it's bigger than ever. So make sure you're using that in your recruitment. All right, let's talk about some best practices. We've talked about the silver linings and some things that have, you know, been the positives, if you will, out of COVID. So what's worked well for your organization in this new virtual environment or hybrid environment? Share your best practices in the chat. Don't be shy. This is how we make sure you're paying attention. All right, employee referrals, excellent. Hiring managers have a better understanding of the importance of engaging with candidates. Absolutely. Summer intern program is still going strong, and we did it as last year as well. Streamlining processes, sign-on bonuses. Excellent. Got a lot of great ideas out there. Continuing to use interns, being cognizant of inadvertent ghosting, onboarding training. Yep. Wonderful. All right, let's talk about what's here to stay. So virtual sourcing, and I see Joanne just talked about virtual interviews. Yep. So virtual sourcing is here to stay. 81% of talent professionals agree that virtual recruiting will continue post-pandemic, and 70% say it's here to stay. I absolutely agree with this. I love the human element and being able to bring somebody in and have that energy face to face. But as a first or second interview, the video interviews are a great way to do this, especially when it's a live interactive video versus the recorded video. It's a wonderful opportunity to really set both parties at ease. You're able to schedule more back to back and get a lot more done with your day. So I think that's definitely something that's going to stick around. Here we go from HR Magazine. Pandemic gives rise to video interviews from a JobVite survey that they did. 53% conduct half or more of their interviews via video. 40% believe virtual interviews will become the default. 67% of recruiters interview via video, and 11% believe video interviews will not be the default moving forward. So I'm hoping it's not the default. Like I said, I think you have to have that human interaction, but as a first or second stage, it's a great way to talk with a lot of people or possibly get ghosted by a couple along the way, but at least you're not rearranging your entire schedule for that. It's also very popular with the students and the new generations coming in. So 49% of students said they feel less intimidated meeting with potential employers in a virtual environment, and 42% said that they're better able to prepare. It really reduces the scheduling barriers and enables candidates to progress more quickly through a company's process. Like I said, you can schedule them back to back, and then think about, when you were last in the job market and had to go for an on-site interview. You're worried about traffic. Where am I parking? What's the security protocol? Do I need to, go through a certain door? How early should I get there? I don't want to be too early. I don't want to be late. With the virtual interview, it's very easy to, set up your space, get ready to go, and then a minute or two before you're actually supposed to meet with the person, or waiting until 10 o'clock on the nose, you're able to click in and go ahead and get started with your interview. So it really is able to put your candidates at ease, so you're going to get a better interview for the ones that do show up. Remote work. 52% of US workers said they would choose to never return to their workplace and would rather telework permanently. And 40% of Generation Z and millennial professionals want the flexibility in choosing where to work. This number definitely spiked up higher for a long time with people wanting to work in that remote environment. I think we're starting to see it move down just a little bit because people need that social interaction, or at least some people do. And I think we'll end up in some sort of hybrid environment for most positions moving forward. If you are able to work from home and get your job done and that works well for you, awesome. I know full-time, that's not what I would want for me. So you have to treat each person as a unique individual, because we are, and see what's going to work best for them as well as your organization. And if you do have that possibility to recruit from anywhere, it's now a global marketplace more than ever. A lot of people have been able to recruit globally for a long, long time, but we've really proven that it's really possible and great work can get done, whether they're down the block or across the globe. So you can really expand that pipeline of talent. If you are going to be recruiting for virtual workers in the future, make sure that you're revising your company's career page to match that. I think it's an understood while we're still in this transition phase before we really return to the office and get back to our new normal or next normal. But if you are planning to have virtual employees in the future, make sure that you're adding that information to your content and your headings and your keywords so that you're getting that organic search traffic to those positions. Or if some positions are remote and some need to be in the office, just make sure that you have that clarification in each of your postings so that the candidates know that up front. And we always have to look inside. Some of the best talent is already in our organization. And during COVID, we saw a big increase, 20% of internal mobility going up during the onset of COVID-19. So it was great that companies were realizing the talent that they had within their organization and the opportunity to promote that talent and also retain them. Social media, it's not going anywhere. 69% of American adults use at least one social media site, and 79% of job candidates use social media in their job search. So if you're hiring, make sure that you are still putting your information out on social media because people are looking for careers that way. All right, so now back to you in the chat. What's here to stay? What do you think is here to stay, and how do you feel about it? Some things are working well, maybe some things that you're like, oh, I'm so over this. What are your feelings? Remote hiring, excellent. Linda likes it all. She says it's all good. Kathy likes some sort of remote schedule, social media searches, yeah. Give it another second or two in case we've got some late respondents. All right, programmatic media, yep, definitely. All right, great answers. So what's next? Beware, there's a turnover tsunami coming. If you haven't heard this term already, get used to it. It's like the new pivot. I think we're going to be hearing a lot of this. Unfortunately, some companies didn't do as well by their employees. And the ones that did stick around through the pandemic because they needed the paycheck, they wanted to believe that their company was going to do the right thing, might eventually get to that breaking point where they say, enough is enough, I'm out and I'm looking for a new position. So be aware of this. We really need to make sure that we're treating our employees well so that we can hold on to that best talent within our organization. We're all still going through collective grief and burnout. It's been a weird 14 months, as we've discussed. So make sure that you still have that combination of both empathy and compassion for your employees and for your job candidates as you're recruiting and people are coming in. You really have to let them know that, hey, it's been tough for all of us. We know that the world as we know it has changed. We know that your work has changed. Our way that we're operating as a business has changed. The position that we're recruiting for today has changed. And unfortunately, we think it's still going to continue to change. Just be honest and upfront with them that, okay, it's going to be difficult for a little bit. And as you all know, one of my core values is fun. So make it fun. As you're bringing people back into the office, make it a welcome back party and show your appreciation for the great work that they did while they were away and that we're so excited to get them back into the office. And here's how we're going to continue to take care of you moving forward. Gen X workers are experiencing worrisome mental health declines. So we're continuing to have that strain on mental health of America's workforce. So if you have an EAP program and other things that you're doing to take care of your employees, make sure that you're letting them know about that to hopefully negate some of that turnover tsunami. And that's great advertisement in your recruiting for people coming into your organization. Let them know what's available. Right? I think this is our last poll today. What still needs to change? And do we have the buy-in and the budget from the top? What do you think is still on that list moving forward? All right, we've got our new normal coming in from Doug. Linda needed no budget before this, but that might be changing. Yes. Wide technology acceptance. Yeah, working in local government, we were very, very heavy on paper, I'll say, and a lot of forms that had to circulate through multiple hands and offices. And as we switched to that remote environment, or mostly most environment, we really made that push to some technology changes right away. Value of retaining employees. Linda's asking if anyone else is doing paid Indeed sponsorships. Yep, that's a great option, Linda. And I know a lot of companies are doing that. and continued focus and evolution of candidate experience, recruiter experience, and hiring manager experience. Yes, those are all important. Your user experience overall, any kind of user, any kind of stakeholder is super critical, that you're looking at those processes and going, how can we streamline this? How can we make it better? How can we make it more fun for everybody so that we can get the results we're looking for? All right, so for your existing employees, we talked about it a little bit, but again, retention. Employee engagement is key, and this is going to look different for each organization and different for each employee because we're all unique individuals. But if somebody in your organization wants to learn more, provide that reskilling or upskilling for them, or talk about tuition reimbursement. Maybe give them some different projects to work on. Maybe it's just showing that you care about them as a person, but make sure that retention is key. As much as I love recruiting and talent acquisition, retention is always the most cost-effective way to keep talent within your organization, especially if you're able to provide those opportunities for them to grow and flourish. We've also got Anna saying, focus on well-being and work-life balance. Absolutely. So make sure that you are bringing that out as part of your recruiting. Flexibility. If you can still offer that hybrid schedule or some work from home time and some in-office time, or any kind of other flexibility with the schedule, that's going to be great to allow employees to come back into the workplace when you need them, but allow them to still have some of those benefits that they experience from working from home and that increased productivity. And don't forget about those pets. If you've been working from home, I'm sure the cats and the dogs and everyone else has been very excited about you being there. And as you transition back to the office, your pets are going to be missing you because they're used to you being home all the time. If you have the budget and this is something that you can offer to your employees to get dog walkers or cat petters or anything else, if you're able to show that you care not only for your employee, but their families and their fur families, that's going to be a nice little additive to set you apart from the competition. All right, let's chat about new employees and our recruiting moving forward. So shout out to John Kenlock, our treasurer at HR Florida, shared this meme with the group. Restaurants, we're hiring servers. $2.13 per hour plus tips, LOL. 16 hours, no benefits, no weekends off ever. Drunk Chads, rude Karens, busted back and feet, scalded and cut skin, and random schedules. Okay, that might not be the best way to advertise an opening. So let's look at one of the companies that's doing it right. Got to call out First Watch. If you pull up any of their ads, this happened to be from Glassdoor, but they have this wonderful employer branding going across all of their different sites. Their videos and everything focus on this you first and being able to learn about the culture of First Watch. And then here in their banner advertisements and in their ads, no nights ever. So of course, First Watch has the advantage of being the daytime cafe. So they don't have evening hours for their employees, but the fact that they've come up with something different, okay, here's our organization, but if people don't know who First Watch is or didn't consider working there before or working in the restaurants before, now they're thinking, oh, I could still have my nights off. This could be nice, and that could be better for me or my family and that work-life balance that we want. Or got to put in one plug for Sarasota County, the premier community where people choose to live, work, and play. We have our wonderful About Us section and asking, do you like leaving things better than you found them? We serve the greater good. Our team is here to make Sarasota the premier community to live, work, and play. Sarasota has 37 miles of award-winning beaches, over 80 parks and 100 golf courses, and of course, more accolades about us. And then we believe in work-life balance with a generous leave plan and letting people know what we offer before they even start reading about our different opportunities. In the interview, make sure you're covering the basics with them, that what training will they get for onboarding, what opportunities are there for developmental opportunities moving forward. If you're a restaurant and you're able to provide meals to your employees while they're on staff, or you have a staff cafeteria, a lot of people are going to miss the opportunity that they had their kitchen, in the next room and they can make a fresh meal. So if that's something that you can do to help ease them back into the office, that's going to be helpful. If you provide uniforms, whether that's a discount or outright, they don't have to worry about buying new clothes. Maybe they gained a little weight, maybe they lost a little weight during COVID. If they had the opportunity to get a new uniform, you don't have to worry about that either. And culture. So if your team likes to have fun, if you go on company cruises, if you do community events and you get to, put up your tent and have a good time with your employees, make sure that you're sharing that. That's really what's going to still attract good talent to your organization. They want to know what the culture is of that company and how they can be a part of that. In the interview, I think continue with those live video interviews. Having that opportunity to dive a little deeper, asking the follow-up questions is key. So take advantage of the technology and the productivity and the less stress that comes with those, but the opportunity to really have a face-to-face conversation, see their mannerisms, do they talk with their hands, and really have that opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into their responses is going to be key. And job shadowing is great once you bring them into the office for an interview. If it's a new change for them, or maybe they've been out of work for a little bit, give them the opportunity to shadow some of your employees. Maybe this is for a couple of hours. Some companies do it for a couple of days. Make sure it's during a shift change or whatever is the crazier time of the schedule so that they get a real preview of what that position could be like. Know that there's a disproportionate number of women who left the workforce during COVID. So when you're doing your job ads, you really want to make a choice about the words that you're including. If you haven't used it yet, Textio is one of my favorite options out there. They do have a free version as well as paid, and you're able to put your job ads in and it will tell you, how does this read? And for example, the purple here, you could attract more women to apply by changing your language. Instead, you could change to inspired by instead of driven by. And it just provides a couple of suggestions for you. You don't have to change every word. You don't have to make sure that everything reads differently. But if you are looking for more gender neutral ways to share your job descriptions, this is a great, great tool. And don't penalize candidates for gaps in their employment. And this isn't just women, it's just that more women left the workforce during COVID. There's a lot of men that left the workforce too, whether that was by choice because they had to take care of their children or because of downsizing or companies going out of business. So it's great to ask, what did you do during that time and see if they, took some classes or, gained some new certifications. But if they didn't, that's okay too. Back to that empathy and compassion. Safety is going to be one of the #1 questions that comes up from your employees. 47% of recruiters report that job seekers today frequently inquire about the organization's COVID-19 related safety measures. So they're going to want to find out, what did you do? And if we have another outbreak or something else happens, how are you going to handle that? So be prepared to answer that question. The second most popular question is going to be about stability. So first, showcase that you are still hiring, which I think a lot of companies are at that point now, but be prepared to talk about any layoffs that did happen and what the future projections are. Anything's possible in this world. We can't make any guarantees, but being able to talk about your projected growth or what plans are coming down the pipeline is definitely going to be a key conversation during those interviews. Gen Z advice for virtual recruiting process: be more specific about what you're looking for in candidates. As one of my old colleagues used to say, you have to be specific to be terrific. So make sure that you're being very specific about what you're looking for. Look at those minimum qualifications and preferred qualifications. Do they actually need to have 12 years of experience doing this or this certain degree, or do you have some flexibility in that? Explain the hiring process, ideally before the first interview, and I'll show you an example in a moment. Allowing the candidates to know what's coming next will be able to put them at ease. And also offer guides and information about how to navigate virtual events and fairs. So if that's something that you're participating in or you're hosting, let them know what to expect up front. While we're all becoming way more comfortable with technology and logging on to Zoom and Teams and everything else on a regular basis, there's a gazillion and one different platforms out there. So if you are using a different platform for one of your events or a virtual career fair or something else, providing an easy infographic or something will certainly help the candidates get more comfortable. And one of my favorite government entities to look at for inspiration is the City and County of Denver. And one of the items that they have on their career page, and as talent acquisition professionals, we all know this, but it's this beautiful pipeline. And by just sharing this with your candidates as one of your external pages before they even look at your jobs, just so that they know, okay, we're going from application to assessments to application review to interview to job offer to pre-employment and onboarding. And that's how that talent funnel works. It provides them some information up front, and knowing that they receive over 100,000 job applications. So it's not that they don't want to get back to you, but it might take a little time to get to that final candidate and to let you know, I'm sorry, you haven't been selected, or congratulations, you have been selected, because these things take time. So as we transition from normal to our new normal, next normal, whatever phrase we're going to be calling this next, and I'm looking into my crystal ball and have to make some predictions about the future. First, I think we're going to see a huge spike in recruitment advertising, and based off of the chat comments, it sounds like some of that's already happening. So if you aren't having these budget conversations yet, or putting together your P&L for next year, depending on your level within the organization, make sure you're asking for some more money. So whether you are doing this on the traditional job boards or the sponsored ads on Indeed, or if you're doing the hiring parties like Taco Bell, or just the referral bonuses for employees or outsiders, you're gonna have to throw some more dollars to get the right talent into the door. And make sure you're looking at the long-term strategic pipeline. So this is definitely something that we were heavily doing pre-COVID, was getting more involved with our community organization. So the Boys and Girls Club and Big Brothers Big Sisters and Junior Achievement, and going out to the schools, and not just the colleges and universities. Start young, visit the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high schools, the technical schools, and allowing the students to experience different career opportunities that might be available to them. And then what education do they need? What kind of career path could they take? What earnings could exist for each of these opportunities? There's a job for everybody. There's a career for everybody, but being able to provide that eye-opening experience for them is key. So if you haven't reconnected with those organizations in your community, make sure that you're doing that soon. And the bottom line, there's great talent out there, and the best talent really wants to work. They love work, they get a sense of purpose from it, and they want to join your organization. So make sure that you're putting together the best ads, that you're advertising widely because people might not know about you, and make sure that you're treating your candidates with respect as well as your existing employees. And you'll see great success in the future. And we'll open it up for questions. I think
as a reminder, go ahead and put your questions in the chat function, and we'll see if we can stump HD. All right, we got the first one coming in. Thoughts on adapting ATS to meet current needs? Applicant tracking systems are a love-hate relationship, are they not? I've had the pleasure of working with several, and some of them are more adaptable than others. Currently using the Workday system, and as many things as it does well, applicant tracking system is not one of its high qualities. So we're a little more limited in what we can do there. But if you get the right programmers, either internally or working with some of their external advisors, you really can change the way that system is built so that you can get a better experience put together. Very happy to announce that we went live with an integration yesterday for background checks. So, that will streamline the process for our candidates. So looking at the opportunities that are available in your ATS and then making those changes. And with the City and County of Denver, they're on the Workday platform, which is why I frequent their website to see what they're doing. Most of their candidate experience items are on their regular website before you apply to the job and actually go into the applicant tracking system. So unfortunately, I think you're still going to have multiple mediums that you're having to work in with, emails or other things outside of your traditional ATS, but you can still do a lot within those systems to try to make them work better for you.
HD, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You provided a lot of great information about how to take care of an organization's employees, both their new hires and those that have been around for a while. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on how recruiters and talent acquisition and HR professionals can take care of themselves. I mean, they've faced extraordinary pressures and changes as well. What advice do you have for our own community?
Well-being is number one. And with my volunteer world with our wonderful HR Florida crew, we created Wellbeing Works Florida just for that reason. Before we even knew COVID was a thing, we were all experiencing burnout and overexerting ourselves in many ways. You have to put your own life mask on first, or your own oxygen mask. So you have to take care of you so that you can take care of others and to do the best work within your organizations. So whether that is exercise or sleep or meditation, there's different ways that we can all make sure we're being our best selves so that we can bring our best selves to the office and to those that we love. So take care of yourselves and each other. All right.
Any other questions for HD? I mean, what a wonderful presentation, a great way to kick off our event. This is your last chance. Any final questions? Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Hiring women, targeting them. So I think using services like Textio, and that's just one example out there, but because they do have the free service, I wanted to mention them as one option for you. Really looking at the language that you put within your job postings, and also providing that live video of, if you have a day in the life of type stories of your employees, I think will also help attract more women into your organization, especially if it's a more not as gender neutral workplace. So let's say it's a male dominated career that you're looking at. If you're trying to attract more women into that specific area, showcase a couple of the women working in that area and the career paths that they've taken and how they've broken through those glass ceilings, changing the language and the expectations of the role, and not saying that they would do less work, but that there's different work that could be done, or it might be approached differently, and that you're open to those different opportunities. Depending on what you're doing on social media, you can also make a difference in how you're showcasing your ads on those different platforms. So based off of the latest statistics, Pinterest is still higher for females than it is for males. So if you're not on Pinterest, that could be a good place to do your advertising if you want to recruit more women into your organization. Great question.
Okay, thank you very much, HD. Again, that was a wonderful session. And I guess what we'll do, since we don't have any other questions, looks like she's done a follow-up on that same question. HD, if you want to take a crack at that.
Yep. So the follow-up was, it is okay to tailor jobs to women. This is that gray area of, you don't want to, we're equal opportunists. Unless it's a BFOQ, you certainly don't want to put anything in there that's going to be questionable, but tailoring the language to women is not necessarily targeting women. For the Textio example of inspired by versus driven by, that could be available to either of the genders. You're not saying that we're only hiring women, you're just changing the language so it's more approachable for them to go, oh, I could do that job. I could see myself in that position. And then showing those videos of your employees that are actually doing those jobs. And okay, lots of follow-up here. Our jobs have a lot of lifting and a lot of women can't do it. Again, if that's a requirement of the job, don't change that at all. But just like we talk about recruiting for people with, disabilities or different abilities, Ask about accommodations. Yes, there might be a lot of lifting, but are they able to do it in a different form or fashion? So maybe we've been, lifting with our arms and our legs, but if there's a machine that could help them lift or move things around, that could be an opportunity to really expand your workforce, not only gender-wise, but for people of all capabilities. Some guys can't lift that heavy either. So it would be a very targeted market that you're looking at. Maybe you can expand it by looking at those accommodations. And she was asking about the name of the software, Textio, Textio. And if you just do a quick Google search for that, you'll get to their website. And like I said, they've got a free version that's awesome, paid subscription if you're going to use it more often than that. Let's see, additional questions. In your experience, do most companies require a diverse candidate pool, gender, ethnicity? That really depends on if they have an affirmative action plan and if they're following it and what they're doing with their recruiting. Some companies are really starting to make sure that on the interview panels, they have, a set diversity to their panels. In my organization, we're actually getting away from the panels because that was causing some huge delays with trying to get, 6 people on a panel to interview one candidate, and scheduling was always a nightmare. So instead we said, you can do a one-on-one interview. You can have 2 or 3 people on your interview panel if you want to provide those, different opportunities for people to ask questions and different personalities to show in the room. So I would certainly try to mix it up a little bit so that they're not all white males. But if that's the majority of your organization and, those are the only 2 things that people can see, look at those other criteria of maybe somebody's earlier in their career, maybe somebody's a more seasoned professional, maybe somebody's from a different department, so that you still have some diversity that way as well.